Hello, hello, hello. This is the Vanilla JavaScript podcast. I'm Chris Ferdinandi. Thanks for joining me. Today, I wanted to talk about the importance of owning your platform. So last week, Laurie Voss, co-founder of NPM, tweeted, "I cannot emphasize enough that I should write my own framework," quote, "is the wrong call 99.9% of the time." He continues, "Seeing a lot of replies to this which go, 'Not true, you learn a lot from writing one,' or 'So true, I hate using this weirdo framework somebody built.' And that's the problem." I'm continuing Laurie's quote here. "Frameworks are fun and informative to build, but unless a lot of people adopt them, they are painful to use. So maybe I will modify my position to feel free to build a framework and use it on personal projects, but only very, very rarely is it going to be a good idea to get other people at your company to use it." He continues, "The primary advantage of a framework is not technical but human. More people use it, more use cases accounted for, more tutorials, more bugs fixed, better docs. Until that happens, the experience of using it is trying to reverse engineer the author's idea of, quote, the right way. So feel free to write that weirdo framework. Let's face it, me tweeting isn't going to stop you anyways. Frameworks are fun to build, but think long and hard before inflicting a crystallization of your preferences on other people." Laurie is both very right and very wrong. Frameworks solve a lot of problems. They also introduce a lot more. He wrote, "The primary advantage of a framework is not technical but human. More people use it, more use cases accounted for, more tutorials, more bug fixes, better docs." Those bug fixes are awesome, but most of them rather don't apply to you and your use cases. You're inheriting a ton of code that you pass on to the user that has nothing to do with what you're trying to build. Your users pay a performance tax for someone else's problems. He also said that until that happens, the experience of using it is trying to reverse engineer the author's idea of the right way. That sounds like a documentation problem, not a framework problem. Good documentation goes a long way. There's this strong belief, just kind of generally within our industry, that frameworks enforce, quote, the right way of doing things. But I'm not really sure that holds up very well, because the appeal of these tools is also that they're very flexible. If you Google how to do something in React, you're going to get a dozen articles recommending a dozen different approaches. And now with React hooks, there's two completely different architectural approaches you can take. So there's not even the right way anymore within React. There's two right ways depending on kind of how your code base is structured. And, he also said, so feel free to write your weirdo framework, but think long and hard before inflicting a crystallization of your preferences on other people. But it's not a weirdo framework if it solves real problems with how you build more elegantly than the existing market solutions. Angular is a giant bloated mess. React is really confusing for newer developers. And Vue's commingling of JavaScript and HTML itself is not for everyone. All of these tools impose a big performance penalty on users. Newer weirdo frameworks like Svelte and Reef exist because of gaps or problems with the existing options. I built Reef to learn how DOM diffing and reactivity work. Then I discovered that a lot of developers found it way more approachable than what's already out there. Facebook built React even though Angular already existed. Evan You built Vue even though React was already popular. So go on, build your own little mini framework. Don't give into this cargo cult of just use React or Vue or Angular. Own your platform. One last thing, the last sentence here just really, I think, rubbed me the wrong way. This, think long and hard before inflicting a crystallization of your preferences on other people. What are React or Vue or Angular, if not a crystallization of other people's preferences on you as a developer? These tools themselves are opinionated perspectives on what development should look like. And that's fine. It's important to have opinionated perspectives on things, but having a different opinion and then wanting to build something that fits with the way you think development should be done, as long as you have kind of consensus on your team and it fits within the scope of your project, like there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely own your platform, control your code base. That's it for today. If you want to finally master JavaScript, head over to vanillajsguides.com and check out my pocket guides and video courses. They're short, focused, and made for beginners. You'll learn the ins and outs of a topic in under an hour. And as a listener of this show, you can take 30% off with the code podcast at checkout. See you next time. Cheers.